de l'offre du livre, donc du papier au numérique.
Donc finalement, c'est quoi? C'est un défi, une menace ou une opportunité?
Si vous êtes un libraire avisé, c'est une opportunité. Si vous êtes un libraire frileux, c'est une menace.
Et quel pourrait être le profil du libraire en 2020?
Il y a un gros problème de génération en librairie. Preuve en est, de nombreux libraires ont du mal à trouver repreneurs. Premièrement, la librairie, c'est un modèle économique fragile. Les marges sont vraiment minimes. Je vais donner un exemple qui est toujours très parlant. Quand on parle des marges dans le secteur du commerce du détail, dans l'habillement, les marges du détaillant sont de 70% brut. C'est énorme. Donc quelqu'un qui va acheter un vêtement, il va payer 100 €, 10 €. Il faut se dire qu'il y a 70 € qui vont dans la poche du détaillant, brut évidemment. Hein. Donc il faut défalquer toutes les charges fixes, variables, les impôts, etc., etc. Bon, en librairie, on est loin de cette marge, on n'est même pas à la moitié en marge brute en général. Donc ça veut dire que la rentabilité de la librairie est vraiment très fragile et très forte.
Και για τα CD-ROM που αναπαράγουν καθολικά το περιεχόμενο ενός βιβλίου. Έχουμε φύγει πλέον από το CD-ROM, οπότε είναι εμφανές ότι χρειάζεται και εδώ πάρα πολλή δουλειά και αναθεώρηση εξ ολοκλήρου του νόμου περί μιας τιμής.
Εγώ θα ήθελα να μην τελειώσουμε ακόμα το θέμα βιβλιοπωλεία, να μας πείτε λιγάκι πού βρισκόμαστε με το ΦΠΑ, γιατί από ό,τι μας είπαν οι μεγάλοι συνάδελφοι υπάρχει μια συζήτηση εν εξελίξη στην Ευρωπαϊκή Επιτροπή για να καθοριστεί το ΦΠΑ το χαμηλό και στο ηλεκτρονικό βιβλίο. Είχαμε ακούσει επίσης ότι οι Ισπανοί με έναν έτσι λίγο αυθαίρετο τρόπο, τώρα που είναι στην Προεδρία της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, βάλανε μόνοι τους λίγο το ΦΠΑ στο ψηφιακό βιβλίο στο χαμηλό επίπεδο, και λίγο να ακούσουμε την επιχειρηματολογία που λέει το κράτος, λένε τα κράτη, γιατί πρέπει να είναι στην υψηλή κατηγορία το ΦΠΑ στα ψηφιακά βιβλία.
Un de vos grands combats?
Oui, c'est un de nos grands combats, effectivement. Là, on peut résumer de manière très simple. C'est comme pour le prix fixe. Sur le prix fixe, sur le livre papier ou le livre numérique. Un livre est un livre, quel que soit son format. Donc, pourquoi faut-il accepter dans la législation européenne, faut-il permettre aux États membres qu'ils soient...
Εξαιρετικό. Μας επιτρέπει να δημιουργούμε καινούργιες υπηρεσίες, μας επιτρέπει να εξυπηρετούμε εξατομικευμένες ανάγκες των χρηστών μας. Κατά συνέπεια, είμαστε από αυτούς που βλέπουν πολύ θετικά την όλη εξέλιξη. Μας απασχολεί πάρα πολύ το θέμα των πνευματικών δικαιωμάτων, όχι μόνο των εκδοτών, αλλά και των δημιουργών. Και μην ξεχνάτε ότι η ακαδημαϊκή κοινότητα είναι δημιουργός. Δηλαδή, πολύ μεγάλο ποσοστό των ακαδημαϊκών ή των ερευνητών είναι ήδη συγγραφείς βιβλίων, ήδη συγγραφείς άρθρων. Επομένως, τα πνευματικά δικαιώματα και ως ακαδημαϊκή βιβλιοθήκη, ερευνητική βιβλιοθήκη, είναι κάτι το οποίο μας απασχολεί πάρα πολύ για να μπορέσουμε να το διαχειριστούμε. Τώρα, επίσης, βλέπουμε με πολύ μεγάλο ενδιαφέρον τη χρήση που μπορεί να έχει είτε το ψηφιακό είτε το ψηφιοποιημένο βιβλίο στην εκπαιδευτική διαδικασία. Επομένως, ως μια βιβλιοθήκη που χειρίζεται τέτοιου τύπου υλικό, μας ενδιαφέρει στο να ξεκαθαριστούν τα προβλήματα που υπάρχουν, των δικαιωμάτων κατά κύριο λόγο. Μας ενδιαφέρει να προχωρήσουν θέματα ψηφιοποιήσεων στο βαθμό που ξεπερνιούνται τα προβλήματα, κυρίως των πνευματικών δικαιωμάτων, αλλά και του κόστους που συνεπάγεται η όλη διαδικασία. Και αυτό το πράγμα να δώσει στις βιβλιοθήκες ένα νέο πεδίο όπου μπορούν να χειριστούν περιεχόμενο πλέον και όχι μόνο τίτλους βιβλίων. Γενικά δημιουργείται ένα δυναμικό περιβάλλον, εκτιμούμε. Τώρα, από την πλευρά του βιβλίου ως λογοτεχνία ή ως ένα βιβλίο που το διαχειρίζονται κυρίως οι δημόσιες βιβλιοθήκες, όπου κάποιος χρήστης έχει μια φυσική σχέση με τη βιβλιοθήκη, θα πάει εκεί, θα το δανειστεί, θα καθίσει να διαβάσει. Πώς αυτό το πράγμα περνάει στον ψηφιακό χώρο, θεωρώ ότι είναι ακόμη πιο δύσκολο. Δηλαδή, εκεί πέρα νομίζω ότι τα θέματα των πνευματικών δικαιωμάτων είναι πολύ πιο ισχυρά, έχουν μεγαλύτερη περιπλοκότητα για να λυθούν και κατά συνέπεια εκτιμώ ότι σε αυτό το χώρο θα έχουμε πολύ μεγαλύτερη συζήτηση και με τους εκδότες και με τις βιβλιοθήκες.
Είναι ίσως το επάγγελμα που θα αλλάζει ριζικά. Πιο πολύ από τους εκδότες και ίσως τους βιβλιοπολές. Θα έχουμε βιβλία, δηλαδή αύριο σε μια βιβλιοθήκη.
Εννοείται ψηφιακά βιβλία.
Όχι, πραγματικά βιβλία.
Ορισμένες χώρες, δηλαδή από τη Μεγάλη Βρετανία, τη Γαλλία, τη Γερμανία και το Βέλγιο, για το πώς υλοποιήθηκαν οι μορφές εκμετάλλευσης των ψηφιακών βιβλίων σε αυτές τις χώρες. Αρχίζουμε αμέσως, γιατί δίνοντας το λόγο στην κυρία Bergman-Tahon, η οποία είναι η Διευθύντρια της Ευρωπαϊκής Ομοσπονδίας Εκδοτών, μέχρι ότου τακτοποιηθούν και τα θέματα του υπολογιστή, οπότε γιατί οι υπόλοιπες παρουσιάσεις θα είναι μέσω υπολογιστή. Mrs. Bergman, συγγνώμη, θα μιλάω και αγγλικά. Οι παρουσιάσεις θα γίνουν στα αγγλικά. Αν θέλετε ακουστικά μπορείτε να πάρετε από το... και έχουμε ταυτόχρονη μετάφραση. Λοιπόν, Mrs. Bergman is the director of the Federation of European Publishers and Booksellers. Of European publishers, European publishers, and she's going to talk to us about the Arrow Plus initiative, which is an electronic platform for tracing the status of works.
Ευχαριστώ. My limitation in Greek. Okay, I'm sorry I didn't bring a PowerPoint. I'm just going to try to be as clear as possible. Arrow, well, it all came when Google started to digitize books, and the European decided to have a joint answer, and that was Europeana. You've all heard of Europeana. And then the librarians asked us whether they could put books that were still protected by intellectual property on the various portals that populate Europeana. As representative of publishers, we of course say that if books are in print, it's obvious that you have to ask the publishers whether or not the books can be put on Europeana or on any website. If they are out of print, the rights are either with the publishers or back to the author, and therefore you have to ask either or. And if they are no longer a publisher or an author around, that's the works they called as orphan works, then obviously we need to find a system to permit librarians to put those orphan works online. I would want to say that I think that for books, the problem of orphan works is much less important than it is actually for other types of creative works. I think that the real problem for orphan works is picture or letter or archive document. But we as publishers, we decided that we would put forward we will try together with our colleagues librarians and collecting society in the field of writing, we would put forward a solution based on what we've been calling all the time is called due diligence search. The fact that you cannot put online works without searching whether the work is either in print, out of print, or it has no longer parents and it's orphan. Of course, when the objective is to digitize millions and millions of books, this is far more complicated than if you just want to digitize a couple of copies. So we had to think of how can you do that in a semi or almost automatized way. And that's where we came up with the idea of searching the existing databases, and the existing databases in the books words, they're mainly the databases of the national libraries, the national bibliographies. They are the database of books in print, like Biblionet in Greece, or they are the database of the collecting society in the printed word, and that would be for Greece, Osdel. It was, when we launched the project, it became quickly apparent that it was much more complicated to link those databases than we had thought at the first sight. I think that very naively we had thought that this would be like on the internet, and you make a search and then you have instantly you search all of the internet. Problem is, all those databases were pre-existent the Arrow project. So what you need to do is actually you have to make messages so the queries can be read by the other database. And that's as far as I understand the technical aspect of it. So we are now testing Germany. We are now starting the beta testing in Germany. Also have the UK, France and Spain in a first wave. And we expect a few other European countries in the first Arrow project. It's a co-funded project with the European Union. And then we have we want to prepare for the 1st of June, so that's almost tomorrow, a Arrow Plus project that will gather more countries and that also will look at the sustainability of the system. And for that we are discussing with a number of countries, including Greece, to find the relevant partners and to work together in order to develop a system that will be functioning to the benefit and interest of all parties. That is the publishers, the authors, obviously, the publishers are working for their authors, the librarians, and also the facilitators that can be the collecting society. Those three categories of stakeholders, national libraries, publishers and collecting societies, are represented in the current Arrow consortium and will follow. So Arrow is, if I'm to conclude, Arrow is really a pragmatic answer to a question. And I think that in the digital world we have more and more to provide with pragmatic answers to questions. We cannot just camp on our rights or acquis. We have to come up with solutions. And Arrow is part of the solution. It's the modest part, but it's part of the solution. And I very much hope that we can have Greece joining us with all the stakeholders around the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Θα δεχτούμε τις ερωτήσεις όλες μαζί στο τέλος, για λόγους οικονομίας χρόνου, έτσι οπότε σημειώστε τις ερωτήσεις για την κυρία Bergman. And I would like to pass on the speech to Mr. Miles Poynton, who is the International Sales Director of the publishing house Faber & Faber, who is going to talk to us about the e-publishing and e-rights experiences with Faber & Faber.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Socrates Kabaropoulos for inviting me here today. And I'd just like to give you a brief outline of Faber & Faber's digital experiences over the last 3 years. To kick off, I'm not quite sure if you can read all of this, but this is a timeline over the last 3 years, and Faber's digital strategy started in 2007 when we appointed a head of digital. That person spent the best part of an entire year securing digital rights to go along with our existing book rights. And then after that we decided that we were going to convert our new titles primarily on publication at the same time as books into e-books, and we launched, when the Sony e-reader launched in the UK with Waterstones, we had 50 books on sale there. We then signed up with a number of other platforms, including Libri in Germany and Gardeners and Go Spoken in the UK, and we kept converting e-books at a pace, so that roughly 9 months on we had 250 e-books on sale at the same time as Kindle was launched from Amazon. We've also launched Faber Digital Services, which offers a digital distribution service to the independent publishing sector, and we hope by the end of 2011 to have 1,200 e-books on sale. This I thought you might like to quickly see as a guideline to how digital sales have taken off, and these are e-book sales. The bottom red line is volumes, and the blue line is values. And you can see that in the last few months, sales have really taken off, and that there was a spike in July when more platforms came on board. So from a publisher's perspective, what's there to gain from digital? Well, US publishers are quoting that they're getting 4% of their turnover from e-books and digital sales. Faber's currently experiencing sales of around 2%. And Amazon are quoting that when they have a physical and digital edition of a title, the e-book accounts for 25% of sales. There's been much talk about the models to use when looking at digital publishing, and music retailing has been an area that a lot of people have looked at. At Faber we've looked at the film market, and we feel that that is a slightly stronger and more accurate model to follow when looking at a model for publishing. First off, there's the hardback, which is the early adopter, if you like, the deluxe experience. I know this is slightly different in Greece, this is for the UK market. And then there's a paperback, which coincides with a DVD release. And then after that come box sets, or in DVDs and box set omnibuses in book form. But then you add on to that film streaming on computers, and that's very much akin to the e-book experience. So what are the issues? There's a number, I think, different issues for authors and agents. Firstly, royalty. Everyone wants a fair slice of the cake. Piracy, whether digital files will be secure. Cannibalization, in what way will print sales potentially be harmed, particularly where if e-books are very low priced. Some agents have been very concerned about the loss of control of publishing, with e-books never going out of print. And then of course there's the power of the retailers. Publishers' concerns are quite similar, but first and foremost we want to benefit from the sales that can be had in all formats, particularly if we launch a book in print form, and the e-book and the digital formats benefit from that same publicity. We're also worried about the potential harming of print sales if the e-book and digital formats are too cheap, and of course we're concerned about the power of some of the major corporations. I'll just quickly touch on some commercial issues. One feature that we found in the UK that we haven't run into before is contracts, and quite complex distribution contracts that we don't have with our booksellers. And this has really come about because of the US dominance of the digital market and their early experiences, together with the more detailed concerns of corporate American publishers. Publishers' concerns, well, can we make enough money too? That's one of the major concerns that we have. We obviously want to have some control over the pricing, particularly when compared to physical books. We also want the ability to locally price to markets. Different markets have different prices and price strategies. And we want to see the emergence of a clear supply chain so that everything works as efficiently as possible. And last of all, of course, this is an interest of everyone. We all want our content to be secure. Libraries can adapt to e-books, but we're still working on what model that will be so that we don't lose control of our content. Retailers and wholesalers' concerns include having as wide a range as possible, having a viable set of terms. Obviously they're concerned about market share and competitivity, and they're also concerned about their relevance in the supply chain. They don't want publishers going direct to consumers. I think it's fair to say that it's still very early days in the digital and e-book market, and a lot of customers and consumers aren't aware of e-books. But it's also something that we see as important for Faber, because our books are books that very heavy book buyers want to read. They want to read them in e-book format. A couple of very quick slides here on some experiences. If you want to sell digital books, you need really good metadata and rich content. And if you're going to deal with digital products, you're going to have to get used to dealing in quite long and extended contracts. That said, seek partnerships and experiment is one of the key watchwords that I've got. The digital world opens up lots of opportunities, and experimentation is something that I firmly recommend. We've worked with...
Thank you very much for being so brief and concerned time. Mr. Thornton stressed upon the importance of respecting the supply chain in the digital book production, and this is why we have invited this year again someone to talk to us about the Libreka experience in Germany. Mr. Vogelbacher has been here last year as well through Germany as a guest of honor. Θα το πω και ελληνικά για να συνοηθούμε πολύ καλύτερα. Η πρωτοβουλία στη Γερμανία έχει μια ιδιαιτερότητα. Είναι μια πλατφόρμα διακίνησης των ψηφιακών βιβλίων που οργανώνεται από τον Σύλλογο Εκδοτών και Βιβλιοπολών. Υπάρχει λοιπόν ένας απόλυτος σεβασμός στο ρόλο του βιβλιοπόλη σε αυτή τη διαδικασία παραγγελίας και προμήθειας των ψηφιακών βιβλίων. So I'm giving the speech to Mr. Vogelbacher to talk to us what's new on Libreka after 1 year.
Yes, thank you very much, Socrates, for the invitation again this year. And I managed to get here last year and had a presentation about Libreka. And it was just 1 month ago we started our ebook selling, and now we are 1 year after this ebook selling. I'll give you some more information of how Libreka was developed further on. But first of all, who does not know what Libreka is or who we are? We are the MBB. The MBB is part of the German Book Trade Association, which represents 20,000 publishers in Germany. We have in Germany 20,000 publishers and 6,500 booksellers. So we are part of this, we are a subsidiary of this Book Trade Association, and we do the economical part of that. That means we have 2 magazines, that is so-called Börsenblatt for B2B business, and of course the book journal, which is for end consumers in the stores. And we have the VLB, which is a database for print books. We have at the moment in Germany available titles of about 1.2 million titles. So these are the titles you can all buy in Germany as print titles. And of course we have Libreka, which is not only a Falltextfinder, I can read it here, but is also an e-book platform as well. So I brought you some figures with me from the US market, which are presented to the publishers only once a month. And you see here the Q4 of 2009, and you see the exponential growing. And I can just tell you that in Germany it's almost the same. We have an exponential growing and a rapid growing of e-book selling. We are at the moment at 1% of the total market in Germany with e-books, but in the US you have learned it's about 4 to 5%. And last month, I think it was in March, in the US were more e-books sold than audiobooks. Yeah? So it's still growing, and what we expect is that we in the next 5 to 6 years we have about 8 to 10% of the total market will be e-books. So I brought also some devices with me. I put them here, or I have them here. I put them here in front of me then in a second. Don't look at the back here. It's just to carry them. I put them here, and you can have a look at them afterwards, after the show and or after the presentation or after all the presentations. You can have.
Για την ωραία παρουσίαση. Προχωρούμε στη Γαλλία. Στη Γαλλία δεν υπάρχει μια πρωτοβουλία όπως αυτή που ανέλαβαν οι Γερμανοί εκδότες και βιβλιοπόλες με το Λίμπρεκα. Έχουμε κοντά μας την κυρία Βερονίκ Μπάκερ από την εταιρεία Dilicom, που ήταν μαζί μας, ήταν προσκεκλημένοι στο συνέδριο που κάναμε για τα ψηφιακά βιβλία πριν από 10 ακριβώς χρόνια, το 2000. Θα συνεχίσω στα αγγλικά. We are going to pass to France now, and we have together with us Mrs. Veronique Bakker, the operations manager of Dilicom, who has been with us about 10 years ago when we organized our first conference on e-books. Dilicom has created a digital directory, let's say a business-to-business platform for booksellers in France, and they are working now on e-books. So please have a speak.
Hello. Yes. The project on which we work now, it's very different from the Librica one. It's an alternative to a common digital book distribution platform. While you're discovering the summary, I tell you a few words about Dilicom. Dilicom was created in 1989 by a group of booksellers, suppliers, and publishers. Its role is to develop and provide services that help book trade. 2010 is considered by the French professional as major for the French e-book market. And the beginning of the year was quite unsettled. Several press releases and reports, very passionate discussions about publishers.
Today is coming from Belgium, from London, where we will have a presentation of the experiences of an initiative similar to Libreka. It's called ebook.org. It has been organized and created by the Flemish publishers and booksellers. And we have together with us Mr. Kurt van Damme, who is the managing director of RUIT, which is the Flemish Society for Collecting Rights. Έχουμε μαζί μας σήμερα τον κύριο Kurt van Damme, που είναι ο διευθύνων σύμβουλος του Βελγικού, ας το πούμε έτσι, ΟΣΔΕΛ, του Οργανισμού Συλλογικής Διαχείρισης Έργων του Λόγου.
Thank you once again, Socrates, for inviting me. After English, French, and German, it's slightly terrifying to come as a very small language in a very small market, which is Flanders, which is the Dutch-speaking part of Belgium, but still. We have set up an e-book platform as well, which is functioning quite well. And I'm just going to take you briefly on a sort of cycling route of the platforms that we have created or are in the process of creating right now. First of all, who is Book.be? Well, Book.be is the association of Flemish publishers, book importers and booksellers, so it's an integrated organization just like the German Börsenverein. which gives us the opportunity to take into account the specific position of both publishers and booksellers in the digital value chain, because especially the position of booksellers is under threat in the digital world. So we had to come up with something that is protecting the position of the booksellers as well. We represent almost 90% of Flemish publishers and booksellers. We don't have, unfortunately, thousands of publishers in Flanders. We have a couple of hundred, and of course with slightly more booksellers, but we represent 90% of them. I'm not going to take you through the entire presentation, so because I only have 15 minutes, and that would lead us into too much detail, so I'm just going to give you the basics.